Skip coming to you live.
First of all, Pat, thank you very much for having me up here, and the Capital Cichlid Association, and all you members for coming out today. I appreciate your attendance. I run a farm, DCT, Conkel, and I started this thing several years ago when I was 23 years old. I've been doing it for 37 years now. This is my website that you can find underneath donconkel.com or Don Conkel's Tropicals if you're interested. I wrote a couple of books, do a lot of scientific work. A lot of DNA work where we've started establishing all the true genuses, species, so forth. So many people are confused just by the word cyclosoma, which generally these Central American fishes are known as. And I'm going to start out first with propagation in Florida. We're going to go on then a little bit to Costa Rica and Guatemala and southern Mexico. This is where I started out at 23 years old, a combination of discus angels, a pair of red devils, and a few African cichlids. I built this farm back in 1976 in Tampa. You can see, whoops, sorry about that. You can see, well, no, you can't, but I'll get this right. The ponds are all here. We'll put all predatory fish. But for many years, this was all African cichlids. These are our big hatcheries up here, our shipping buildings, and home where I live. We started out rather crude, pouring concrete vats of around 2,000 gallons in size. And this was all African cichlids for a while. Very crude dug ponds, some old tent covers when I was first starting out. I put them up myself, trying to get advice from other Florida tropical fish farmers. Unfortunately, the information wasn't shared very much, and most of this stuff that I did, as you'll see, didn't last long. We'd have to pump the ponds out every year. And of course, then we started covering them up and getting a much more better unit, a much more confined space. Yeah, I met Stuart Grant in 1980, and I started importing African cichlids from Lake Malawi. As a matter of fact, I was exclusive importer up until 1987, when Leif de Magellan, who I know you all know, I let him come aboard to import to America as well. And that was the late Stuart Grant, and the late Ross Sokoloff, right around the same time. I met him, and he was doing a bunch of Belizean Central American fishes. And he told me, Don, you invest $10,000, and you'll make 100 grand. He wasn't far off, but it took a while. These were the cichlids that were around back in 1980. Basically, since Bylum, Miki, Jack Dempsey, black belts, or Maculicana, some of the general fish that come out of Belize. Ross was the pioneer for all the fishes. And I give the credit for him to even get me started and interested into these animals. And as you can see, I told you I was told wrong how to build everything. And it all come tumbling down just after a couple of storms. But it's a labor of love, so I started over. And you can see this some big winds we have. We have hurricanes in Florida. And I had to learn how to do a better job. Overnight, I lost almost $250,000 just in facilities alone. So, start over. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So we built all new hatcheries, and we went to larger units, much more stabilized with a lot more steel and reinforcement. And this is just that we're running our concrete vats, which are called coffin vats. I mean, if you've ever been to Florida, you know that our caskets all go inside of these, roughly 200 gallons. At that time, there were breeding tanks and holding tanks. And you can see it's coming along. There's a lot of airline, a lot of PVC. I have over 2.5 miles of underground PVC, not to count up top. Shade screen's important. You've got to keep the birds out. You have to be able to keep the light out to a degree, because you've got to mimic the waterways, particularly in rivers. I mean, rivers are basically just have swaths of light coming over top because they're loaded with trees on each side, and it isn't that bright. Fortunately, I have a lot of good helpers and a lot of family as well to help me along. This is some professional wrestler. I don't know if you all know that, but he was really big into fish. Slowly it came together over 2 or 3 months. That's my daughter there in front. You can see all the debris that we just had to end up destroying, throwing away, and taking to the junkyard.
I'm taking us through the beginning.
And this is bringing in the plastic, which is so important. It takes about 7 or 8 guys to do roughly a 2,000 square foot building.
This is part 1.
And of course, when you get it up and done, it's a big relief.
Chronicles.
And then we had to come into